Hello and welcome to the Bumpy Politics Podcast, the podcast where we discuss matters of national, international and local importance in a calm, reasoned and balanced way. And it appears this evening's motive is to get everything in different orders. So hopefully we'll try and bring some order to the chaos. I am Ian Tiny Morris.
And I'm Simon Sansbury, and apologies for the delay with us going live. So it's like technical issue. We're having a run of them. It's just nature's way of telling us that it's too bloody hot. So what are we doing today, Ian?
Well, we're focusing in on Portsmouth today, as our name suggests. Occasionally, after strolling round various topics, we've come back to a local issue, and we are delighted to be joined this evening by Jason Fazackarley, the recently ex-Lord Mayor of Portsmouth. Welcome, Jason.
Good evening to you both. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Marvellous.
Thank you for joining us. You're welcome.
So, perfect. So, you've just obviously had a year dashing about being the Lord Mayor of Portsmouth. Can you give us an insight into your political journey and how did you come to hold such high office, Jason?
Which time? It's the second time that I've undertaken the role. Last time was 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure I'm going to make another 20, but I'll try and hang in there. No, it comes around. As you're probably aware, there are 42 councillors. So out of that 42, one is selected to undertake the Lord Mayor role during the course of a year. It's only a year, so it goes relatively quickly. So I guess my time had come round again, and I put myself forward for it. To be fair, last time I only did 11 months because we had a Euro election back in 2005, I believe. So I thought I'd try and do a full year. Plus, I think when you take the role on the first time, it takes you a while to understand the role properly, what you can do with it, and by which time you're already looking over your shoulder because you're halfway through the year. So it'd be nice to go back and do it again and sort of know what I'm going into.
You kind of need a practice run then.
Well, each person's to themselves. I mean, I felt it was beneficial to me to do it. I'd like to have done it again, which obviously I got the chance to do it. So it's easier in some degree second time round.
Okay.
And how did Helen end up becoming your Lady Mayoress?
You see, well, my other half, my wife, wasn't available to do it. We had, you're probably both familiar, you do a deputy role first of all. It's changed. The first time I did the Lord Mayor role, you did deputy afterwards. But in the 20 years since, it changed, and now you go and do the deputy role first, which is probably more sensible, and then you go on to do the Lord Mayor role. So my wife was unavailable to do the deputy role. So I asked Helen, because Helen is the other half of my best friend outside of politics. I've known him since I was about 18, I think. So we're a bit old in the tooth now, the pair of us. But I asked, would Helen like to do it? So obviously she did, because she became Lady Mayoress. And that's how it happened. So, but I did have my other half, my wife, as consort, and Helen's other half was also consort. So we had a Lord Mayor, a Lady Mayoress, and two.
Lovely. Well, that kind of brings us swiftly into our next question, which was, it seems that the kind of the regular theme is that there's a presumption that there's a mayor and there's a Lady Mayoress, whether they're whether it's husband and wife, or whether they're friends, or whether they're in a relationship, or whatever, how that works with various different people. We've seen it kind of in different situations and arrangements. Is there any feeling that that's kind of outdated at all in a setup, or could you ever see that arrangement changing at all, do you think?
Well, I think it was certainly traditional. In fact, probably it was impossible in the past for women actually to become councillors at one point. Certainly, I don't think we had any Lady Mayoresses until I think either the late 60s or 70s. I should know this, but it was very late in the day, so it was traditionally very much a male filled role. The sort of images of crusty old councillors, before you went to the coffin, you went to the Lord Mayor's chair, probably had a certain degree of truth about it. But times have changed. I think when I first became a councillor 30 years ago, crikey, 30 years ago, we were still, you'd go into a council meeting, you'd have to wait for the Lord Mayor. If it's a hot day, for example, speaking of today, gentlemen, you can undo your top button. Now, today's councils go in with jeans and trainers, so it has changed a lot in those 30 years. But now, I think it's quite commonplace. We've had many female Lady Mayoresses over the years, many female Lord Mayors over the years. So we've had same-sex partnerships. So sort of time has caught up. And now I think there is no discretion. There's no hold back to who can do it and who they can share it with. And if you look at the current Lord Mayor, Gerald, I think he has 3 Lady Mayoresses now, I believe.
Crikey, that's greedy.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know how that quite evolved, but I mean, it's allowable to do it. I mean, sadly for Gerald, his husband died last year, so otherwise, I'm sure he would have been his sort of. If you have a lady Lord Mayor, then if it's their husband, they're normally called a consort.
All right.
Whereas obviously, if you're a male and you have a Lady Mayoress, she is called a Lady Mayoress. So it's a bit sort of dated in that way. But yeah, but anyone, it's open to anyone now.
Okay.
Perfect. Now, earlier this year, we covered that the election of the deputy, the mayor and the deputy mayor, was sort of tinged with political controversy. How did you see that episode? And should the mayoral role be apolitical, do you think?
I don't think it was the mayoral that was political.
It was the deputy. You're right.
Yeah. Sorry. No. Well, even that. It wasn't the role that was political. I think it was a decision by a group, as they're entitled to do. They decided to make a decision. I think you've done this show already. But they took the decision that they didn't want to attend mayor making on stage. So they didn't. That's up to them as a group if they took that decision. Again, individual councillors can take that decision if they wish. It's very unusual for that ever to happen, and it's very unusual for whoever's been nominated as Lord Mayor then to be hoofed out on the stage. I think I've only seen that happen once. I've seen a couple of Lord Mayors lose an election, so we have to put somebody else in place. But in general, if you're nominated, then when it comes to the endorsement, in effect, official decision on stage on mayor making itself, you rarely get any dispute to that, and you'll see that the groups stand up on block, and it tends to go through. Yeah, I mean, the Lord Mayor role it's not binding that it's non-political, but it's kind of traditional and the accepted norm that it's a non-political role. So I adopted that last year rather, in that I didn't vote in the council chamber at all. If there had been a situation where it was a tied vote, then as Lord Mayor, yes, I've had to have voted. As a Lib Dem, you could probably say it was easy for me not to vote. I didn't have to make a decision. But yeah, it was but each Lord Mayor is different. And I've seen Lord Mayors in the past that have voted. So you are not barred from voting, but it comes down to your conscience, your own feeling about how much you want to maintain the tradition of the role, which I decided to do this year. So yes, I didn't vote on it because I think it's important that you are aloof from it to some degree. Probably one of the most challenging aspects of being Lord Mayor is actually is chairing full council meetings. That's the real only political part that you do. You're with all your other 41 colleagues, and you're stuck in that chair. In fact, it's a bit of a bane, really, because obviously as a councillor, I had the ability of just, if you want to nip outside for a drink or make a phone call, whatever you want to do, you can go out. Lord Mayor stuck in the chair until you can have an official break. So what a lot of the public won't see is you'll get people waving to you as they nip out, knowing that you're still stuck up there in the chair. But
that's cruel.
Yeah, so it's politics. People do that, Well, they do it in a light-hearted way, I think, sometimes. But yeah, you bite your lip thinking, gosh, I wish I could nip outside, but there you are.
I guess just coming back to the appointment of the mayor, with the exception of Frank Jonas, the last probably 5 or 6 mayors have all been kind of from the Lib Dem Labour stable. It looks like if you go back through the history that the parties kind of used to share it around a bit more. Do you think those days have passed, or do you think we're just in a a slightly odd run at the moment?
I think it boils down to basically what first of all, who wants to go for it. And I know that I guess you're referring to the fact that we've had a candidate, Councillor Russell Simpson, who stood for about the last 2 or 3 times, I believe,
Mm.
but hasn't won because it's been contested. I've seen some Lord Mayors just simply be either re-elected, like Elaine Baker one year, nobody wanted to do it, so she did a second term. Other times there's only been one candidate. So not everybody wants to do the role. It's
Yeah.
quite demanding. So it's not for everyone. So out of the 42, you're not going to get 42 of them saying they want to do it. So
Yeah.
it's how each group decides if they've got nominations within them.
And there aren't that
but
many
no, there is
Tories
no
left to choose from, are there, if you were going to share it out amongst them?
No, there are only 4 left, but they're quite entitled to put one themselves forward if they wish to. But it's I mean, there is no set rule. There's nothing to say you need to have Liberal year, Labour next year, Conservative next year. That's never been the case. And if you think back, I mean, if you think back probably to the 50s, 60s, it was virtually Conservative all the way through. So, but that's because they had a majority on the council. And again, when Labour came in, I came in 95, and we had actually we were getting rid of, I think Alan Bennett was coming out of office, so that was a Labour chap, and then you had Malcolm Tudor coming in, so there was some change. But then we had a flurry of Labour Lord Mayors, then we had a flurry of Lib Dem Lord Mayors, then Frank sort of crept into the equation. But as the biggest group, I guess the Lib Dems have got more weight, if I can call it that, if they have one of their members that wants to go forward and do it. It's not quite the papal enclave where you have people disappearing into rooms saying, "You vote for our candidate, vote for you."
White smoke over the Guildhall.
Well, no, it isn't. But there may be some deals done. I don't know. It depends how it goes. I think when I stood, it was only against Russell, I believe, and but no ill feeling towards Russell, but I was fortunate enough to win that year. So
I guess that's ruined it for us, to be honest. So Simon and I are ideal to make our version of conclave related to the election of the Portsmouth mayor. I guess what you're saying is we need to shelve that because there probably isn't the intrigue to make a Hollywood blockbuster.
I've never really known all the years that I've been there. I've never really. I mean, you tend to get more intrigues within the group to actually select their candidate than you do amongst when it comes to the formal vote within the chamber. You may get some discussions beforehand between the group saying we've got this candidate, we've got another one. But normally my experience has been that the sort of, I'm not sure skullduggery is the right word, but the kind of the machinations to try and sort of get yourself elected from amongst your group is probably, that's where more of it lays than it does within the actual wider chamber.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jason.
So looking back on your year in chains, the mayoral chains, what would you say you enjoyed the most about it, and what are the bits that you could possibly have lived without?
I think that probably the main appeal of the job is the diversity of it, or the variety of it, basically, because it sounds cliche to say, but every day really is different. There's such a wide range of things that you do as Lord Mayor. It can be from the sort of cliche going along and opening something, cutting a ribbon. You could go to a citizenship ceremony. You could meet a ship's captain. You could meet an ambassador. You can go out to meet businesses. You can bring tour groups into the parlour. It's constantly changing, and that's what I think that certainly gave me the impetus to keep going over the year for it, because it can be quite tiring as well. You get, it's not every day. You do get some days off. But I mean, I think the most engagements I had in a day was 8. So you can get a lot of things that kick in. Sometimes you might just get one, but it might be 4 hours. Literally, as I say, every day is different, and you meet so many different individuals, organisations. You have the opportunity to do things that you wouldn't be able to do if you weren't Lord Mayor. So yeah, that's the appeal to it. I'm not trying to say it's a greedy thing where you hog everything, but it's just you get the opportunity to share things that you wouldn't normally do, and it brings you into contact with a wide range of people, and you do meet some people that you sort of stay friends with afterwards. You do make, well, again, we're all individual, we're all different, but I certainly have kept in contact with some groups. I've joined some things as a result of being Lord Mayor. So yeah, it continues. A year goes really quickly. Certainly when you get to my age, you get older, it goes quickly. I'm conscious of the Reaper looking over my shoulder all the time, but yeah, it kind of whistles through. So But yeah, but that's it. That's the aspect of it I liked. And also I think our link with the military, because obviously Portsmouth recognised as home of the Royal Navy, there was also an army connection to it as well. My background is military to some degree, so I liked that aspect of it. Particularly get involved with both sets of forces, not so much with the RAF, no disrespect to them, but primarily with the Navy and the Army. So yeah, it's that part of it's really good. I thought anyway. But you did prepare to get knackered, if I'm allowed to say that on
No, you can.
It can be tiring.
We've
if you're younger, even when I did this 20 years ago, I can still remember it being tiring. Obviously, I'm 20 years older now. But you know,
how were you Lord Mayor when you were 15, Jason? That's
you sweet talker. No, gosh, I'm 60 odd now. So that was I was Lord Mayor at 40. So and then I'm 60, 61 now. So yes, whoosh.
gone in a moment. And are there any bits that you could have kind of lived without?
Yeah, I think I can get away with saying this because I don't think the French are going to be tuning in. And if they are, I do apologise. Yeah, we had anyone else that's listening, I've already told this story to. I do apologise. I probably bored you rigid with it already. Not everything about being a Lord and Lady Mayoress is glorious and groovy. There are times when I would say about 95%, 96% of the things that you do are enjoyable or at least satisfactory. There's about 4 or 5% where you're biting your lip thinking, get me the hell out of here. Okay. And I think one occasion that sticks in the mind is we did the D-Day event in Portsmouth last year, Helen and I, and we went across. In fact, Kev, our consort, came across with us as well. Immediately after D-Day 80 in Portsmouth, which was a marvellous event, we went across to France to Caen in the evening. We were up at 5 a.m. on the D-Day in the UK here. We got no sleep at all until we arrived in France the next morning, which was 7 o'clock. So we'd been up for about 26 hours. The boat was packed full of veterans, bagpipe bands, discos and things, so no chance of sleep at all. We arrive in France and we'd had an itinerary given to us in advance. We arrive at the hotel and that's when it all kind of went to it went downhill, if I can call it that. They changed our itinerary, and we were going. You know, in the event that Rishi Sunak went home early from and got so much criticism. Well, there was a British event in the morning that we were supposed to be going to at the British Cemetery. That was cancelled for us because the French, in their words, wanted to beat the rush to Omaha, where the main French commemoration was in the afternoon that we were also going to. So they cancelled us going to the British event. Kev, the consort, went on his own, and Helen and I went off to Omaha. So we got to the hotel. We had, as soon as we walked through the door, change of plan. You need to be ready in 35 minutes. So literally, you have to dash up, get changed, on with the chains and such like. They took us off to. I hope your listeners are tolerant here. This is a bit of a story.
No, you go for it, don't worry.
No, go with it.
So stick with me. Up for 26 hours, get to the hotel, literally rush off and change. They put us onto a minibus and took us to, if anyone here has been to Caen, a lovely city, on the outskirts, they have a huge transport hub. And in this massive, great transport hub where all their coaches and buses are, and the French security was a heck of a lot stricter than it was in the UK. Their roads were closed off. They had gendarmes all over the place. So we get to this transport hub for about, I think, around about 9 o'clock. Bearing in mind the Omaha event was in the afternoon. So we then wait in this transport hub for 2 hours, standing around, waiting, nothing happening, just milling around with just masses of people walking around us. It gets to about, I think it was about 10 past 11, and our sort of French hostess came over and said to us, "Oh, we'll try and get you onto a coach now." We're thinking, beat the rush. We've been here 2 hours already. So they take us to another room where we stand next to more people. There's still no coach. Eventually, and bearing in mind it was a very hot day that day, I'm in a suit with chains, Helen's dressed up. We eventually put us onto a coach, I think somewhere around about 11:30. The coach then waits in the sun with no air conditioning on. We're melting through the window. The Lady Mayoress thought she was going to faint. before it actually starts up. So you can imagine it's really uncomfortable. It then took about an hour to get from Cairn to Omaha Beach, where we were in a huge cavalcade of coaches going through. You still with me, guys? Here?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
No, keep
We're,
going. We're living it. We're living
our
it.
eyes and ears are
Yeah,
peeled.
well,
We're still here after the 26 hours, the melting on the bus, the hurry up and the wait. We're there.
We're only part way there so far. So we arrive at Omaha Beach. Okay, they disgorged us from the coach. Lots of us, and there were about 20 coaches, I think, that were the. Oh, sorry, we're on a week off a minibus coach. That's right. So there's a huge, about 20 odd coaches with the gendarmes. Roads closed off, etc. When we got to Omaha Beach, imagine if you've not been to Cairn, imagine like South Sea seafront. So you're out there standing in the sun, and the venue's not open. It's not ready yet. Okay, so we are kept on the beach where they give us our rations for the day, which were a small bottle of water about the size of this here, one of those, and half a baguette. That was it. You couldn't buy any food anywhere. You couldn't buy any more water anywhere because there were no vendors. It was all closed off for security. So most people necked their drink in about 5 minutes, and we waited on the beach for about 45 minutes till they let us into the venue. So we all go into the venue and think at last. Sadly, when we get in, we find out it doesn't start for another 3 hours. So
Oh my God.
we were stuck inside, not being able to get any more drink. There was none available, as in drink, as in water, not as in beer. And the seats, now I'm clearly not a thin fellow, okay, but I'm not that huge. The seats that they'd set for the venue were like child seats. They're about half the size of my backside, and they were stacked up. So they put us in with some Americans and some Germans that were with the delegation from Cairn, put us into the seats, and we sat there, and literally, and it's fortunate that the chap wasn't a big chap. In front of me was a man, I must have kneed him in the head about 2 or 3 times because our knees were literally so close to his head. So we decided to get up, walk around, because there was nothing to do. We could go outside, but all you could do was go outside. You couldn't buy anything, and just literally stretch our legs rather than avoid getting a blood clot for 3 hours. The best thing about doing that was we got to meet the French Foreign Legion band. So we spoke to them for a while. Then it was back into the seats, and it eventually starts somewhere, well, around about, I think it was about 4:30, the screens came on. So there's a great big screen outside, inside this sort of venue they've made. We think at last it started. Nope. Onto the screen comes President Macron on a red carpet, where he then individually welcomed in 15 heads of state. Now, I'm not sure if you'd recognise the Prime Minister of Greece or the President of Denmark, whoever they were. The only people I recognised were Grant Shapps, Prince William, Zelensky, and Joe Biden. The rest all went over my... Oh, sorry, and Trudeau. So we had to wait for them to come in, which took about nearly another hour for them to sort of come in, go in and meet him. So eventually it starts. It was a fine commemoration event. I'd say the British one was slightly better, but it was good, and it finished. So we had on our itinerary dinner, with the Mayor of Cairn at 7:30, by which time it was about 6:15. So we're thinking, well, it took almost an hour to get here, so we're leaving it a bit fine. We go out, and they wouldn't let us out of the venue until all the heads of state had cleared for security. So by which point people were starting to faint because no one had any water and they hadn't dispensed any. You had some members that, I mean, I speak a little bit of French, but I'm not fluent. But some of the French people that were inside were arguing with the French security guards. It became very fractious. Eventually, they let us out about 45 minutes later. We go back onto the seafront, and there are no coaches. So, it was, by this time it was gone 7. So the dinner was out the window. But yeah, so we had to wait for the coaches to turn up. By which time they had to bring out water amongst the crowd because people were literally fainting. No more food, by the way. I'm not sure I could survive that. But yeah, we eventually got back to the hotel at 25 to 11. So we were on the road for about 14 plus hours for an event that lasted about an hour at the most.
Oh, wow.
Got into the hotel. We were obviously, absolutely exhausted. They offered to get us, I think, McDonald's pizza or something or other, but we were so tired we went to bed. Next morning we get up, It was supposed to be a free morning. I'm almost finished, guys.
No,
Honestly, it's
no,
probably the longest,
we're
the
still
longest
here.
podcast I've ever had.
We've not done an exit. We're just sitting here in silence. Listen, we've got a couple of comments that I'll share in a second once you get to the end of it. But it's no, carry on.
I'm on the last day because we're only there for 2 days.
Right.
So in the morning, we were originally given a free basic free time. So I thought, we can go and I'll show them some of Cairn because I've been there before. But Helen and Kevin hadn't been to Cairn before. That changed. They said, actually, we've now got, we're going to take you to our museum, the Museum of Peace. If anyone's seen it, or if you've not seen it, it's a really great museum.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 4 times the size of the D-Day Museum, if not bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Really interesting. I had been there before, but I was happy to go back again, especially as Kevin and Helen hadn't seen it. So they take us back there, and we're with a what's her name? We have a sort of chaperone with us, who's one of the French deputy mayors. They've got lots and lots of deputy mayors, and we should have realised really, but I think we were still sort of like not jet lagged, but we were still knackered from the day before. So we get to the museum, and they say that there's another lunch, the rearranged lunch with the Mayor of Cairn that never happened the night before, is going to be at 12 o'clock in the museum in a room somewhere. Okay. Bearing in mind, we were going back to the ferry at 1:15. So that was going to be tight anyway. What we should have picked up was...
I've never known a French lunch last less than an hour and a half.
Yeah,
so I think you're in trouble at this point.
Well, we're also in trouble when we should have realised when they said the driver will be back to pick you up at 11:30.
Oh.
I think that went over our tired heads, because why would the driver be coming to pick us back to take us to a venue that we're already at? Anyway, we missed it. So at 11:30, we go outside the museum and we wait. 11:45, 12 o'clock, no one's turned up. So we go back inside the museum. We can't find the Mayor of Cairn. We can't find anybody. So we're standing in this lobby, which is very, very busy of people coming in because it's open to the public. 12:10, then the Germans turned up. This was the German delegates that were with us. And we're all just standing in the lobby till 12:30, when the French chaperone lady turns up and says, I'll take you to dinner now. I think we've only got half an hour. So she takes us into a room in the back of the museum. No sign of the Mayor of Cairn. It's full of Canadian military officers. And we're thinking, what's the link here? So they said, right, you're on, and there were about 15 large tables in this room, round tables. You're on table 10, she said. So Helen, me and Kevin go off to table 10. There's nobody else on it. There's very few people in the room apart from Canadian military officers. There's no explanation. And by which time it's now about 22, 1:15. So we're thinking we're going to make a diplomatic incident here. If they start the dinner and we walk out, well, they start the speeches, it's not particularly good on us. And plus, you're supposed to do a gift exchange that we're taking with us. So we go back. I'm almost finished, guys. I'm almost finished. So we go back to see the French chaperone and say, look, it's 1:15. It's your own itinerary. We've been picked up at 1:15 to go back to the ferry. We're never going to get a dinner at this time. In fact, there was no sign of any dinner anyway. So she said, well, let me take you to see General, whoever it was. I have no idea the guy was. Never seen him before. Probably never see him again. So they take us to see General, whoever he is. And he says, well, can you wait till the speeches start? I thought, well, no, absolutely no way. God knows when that is anyway. And secondly, it'd be even worse if you walk out during that. So in the end, we dumped our gifts on the floor, not rudely, but placed them on the floor and said, look, we're really sorry. We're going to have to go. So we walked out. And as we walked out, more Canadian military officers were coming in. What it was all about, I've no idea. So it was really disorganized. We didn't eat much food. We didn't get much sleep. And it was an experience. So you did ask me for one that's...
Well, we didn't expect it to be the whole box set. I mean, bloody hell, that was... Did you get any food at any point? Did you at least get something to eat on the way back?
We got... The food that we got was breakfast on the second morning. So, and that was it. Yeah, we got some food on the boat, I think. I mean, I'm not going to starve to death, clearly looking at me, but it was just the fact that we were so dehydrated on the main day itself.
Well, so are you saying that the short answer of that is that Rishi Sunak had the right idea?
I can't speak for him. I don't know what he got, but
did he get foreknowledge of that? This is how badly catered quite literally it
Well, I
was.
suspect Richie would have probably been looked after better than us, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've got some sympathy for Calm because it was a national organised French event, but it just seemed so chaotic. And it was so, because of the tight security to it. But literally to have people fainting in the crowd
God.
because there was no water for them, you couldn't buy anywhere. So that's really the reason they obviously must have bought emergency supplies from somewhere.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
yeah, one tiny little bottle of water to last a day in a really hot day.
I mean, it's somewhat of an immersive experience, but while you pause for breath and get a bit of have a bit of lubrication there, let me just quickly share some of the comments that we've had. So we've had Raymond Dent saying that you're both fantastic. We've had Scott Pater Harris saying great work, Jason. Always been a big fan. And he also said. Probably can't read that off the screen, but he said it's also a very intensive role. So those in full-time employment aren't always suited for it. So sometimes the choice can be limited. But those who do it make exceptional sacrifices of their own personal nature. I think that's a fair point that's quite overlooked. Would you say, or is that your experience?
Me, yes. It is. I mean, when I did the role the first time, I worked for the civil service. So it was slightly difficult. It was relatively straightforward to get time off. This is the time around that I've done it. I'm part-time, but I work part-time in retail. Of glorious Asda is my part-time employment. And again, I worked the role around it. So lots of time I went to work early. I 5:30, 6 o'clock, and then I'd finish at say 8 or 9 and get picked up for Lord Mayor things or in the afternoon, whatever. So I was able to sort of do my role around it. But it's horses for courses, and as Scott says there, I mean, it's not suitable for everyone because they may have childcare commitments, they may have a full-time job where their employer's not so lenient. It's that's why not everybody wants to do the role. Not everyone applies for it.
No,
perfect. So Jason, much of the role appears quite performative in terms of sort of hosting dignitaries. Obviously, I'm sure you did it much better than the French did. What benefits do you think the mayoral role brings to the city of Portsmouth?
Well, as you know, I mean, I think we may touch on this later. There is a difference between, because people sometimes get confused. The Lord Mayor role it's not a political role per se. So it's not like a Sadiq Khan role, an Andy Burnham role, whatever. There is no political power to it. It's actually bluff in a way. Nobody really knows what the Lord Mayor does. So one of the things I picked up doing it the first time round, I thought might be useful second time round, was if you pick the phone up and on the other end of the phone, someone says, "Hi, it's the Lord Mayor here." They tend to be sort of a bit more reciprocal. They react to you. So you sort of bluff your way sometimes. You really have no power. The power lies across the road in the civic offices, the leader of the council, the cabinet, and such like. So it's a ceremonial role. And I think there are 30 of us across the UK. We were the only Lord Mayor role in Hampshire until 3 years ago was in Portsmouth. Now Southampton have got it too. Closest before that were London and Plymouth. So, but people tend to like the role. Now, again, each Lord Mayor, it's up to them how they take the role on. If you saw me, I was waddling around in the robe quite a lot because people tend to, it stands out to them. They give that sort of ceremonial aspect and that pomp aspect to it. And the amount of people that want to sort of have a selfie taken or have a photo taken, it's the chain really. Whoever's underneath it can obviously change each year as they do. And as soon as you're out of office as Lord Mayor, you're yesterday's chip paper. But when you're in office and you've got the chain and you've got the robes on, people tend to like it. You're not the politician that gets shouted at in the street that you would do if you weren't wearing the robe, for example, or the chain. The only time I was shouted at in the street was along Southsea seafront due to the way that the MOD organised the D-Day 80 commemorations last year. We got some jip from some veterans for that, but it wasn't the council that organised that. That was the MOD. But yeah, it's people like having a Lord Mayor come along, whether it's an old chubby like me. There's something about them that they love to share it. If you see it, if you I guess having have the chance and the privilege to do the role, I've seen it twice. So it's got a cuddly feel about it. People smile when they see you. They like Lord Mayors being there. There's a certain amount of prestige to the role, and you happen to be the lucky person that fills that and gets that prestige for a year.
You kind of like the political equivalent of Father Christmas then, just without the gifts. Or actually with the
Kind
gifts.
of. No. That's funny you should mention that, because I did. You have a Lord Mayor's Appeal you've probably heard of. At Christmas, we went around the civic offices. Obviously, we're trying to sell raffle tickets for the Lord Mayor's Appeal, and someone said, "Well, you should just go in the robes because it looks Christmassy." But I got a Father Christmas costume. Okay, that in fact the chauffeur, Heather, the chauffeur, I think it was her father's costume. She lent it to me to wear for the day. Sadly, I thought, okay, I'll pad myself out with a cushion and waddle around the civic offices. Sadly, I got so fat I didn't actually need the cushion. I couldn't get it inside the costume. So I had sort of become Father Christmas in a way, certainly belly wise. But yeah, so that's just
You were filling into the role.
Yeah, sadly I did. I put a hell of a lot of weight on, which is why I've been at Slimming World now for the last 5 weeks since I come out of office.
Well, I'm confused. And you're talking about kind of all that ceremony and the differences. Does anyone know yet what will change about the role, or if it will still exist once the local government reorganisation and the devolution stuff kind of happens? Is there any whisper as to what might happen in regards to that, or does no one know?
Yeah, this is a real unknown factor in so many ways. I don't think any of us know what's going to be the outcome of this devolution. I'm not sure many of us are particularly in favour of it. But being, I guess I'm allowed to be political now, but I'll try and stick to the point. From the Lord Mayor aspect, my understanding is that we will need to bid to keep the role of Lord Mayor. Now, you've currently got 15 local authorities in Hampshire. You've got the unitaries, the Isle of Wight, Portsmouth and Southampton. You have the county council. Everyone else underneath that, i.e. your Farehams, your Gosports, your Havants, your Eastleys, they're borough councils. Sorry if I'm teaching you to suck eggs here.
No, it's fine. Good.
The proposals which are not in place, there's talk about merging us with Gosport, Fareham and Havant and Portsmouth in some kind of super council. Now, I use the word super, not in super how wonderful, but super as in super size.
Yeah.
So the sad thing, I think, for the likes of Gosport, Fareham and Havant is their mayors will go. Now, if I was living there, I wouldn't be particularly happy with that, because they've had that role uniquely, because they're geographical areas, they're local authorities at the moment in their own right. They'll lose their mayors. Now, I don't know how it stands, though, when we've had a Lord Mayor of Portsmouth, and that was given to us back in 1927 by the King at the time, how we would suddenly, if we're now merged together with 3 other geographical areas, how a Lord Mayor of Portsmouth, would that then become a Lord Mayor of Fareham, Havant and Gosport, or whatever the new authority is called? We don't know. There's no answer to that yet. I think we've asked lots of questions to central government, and very few replies have come back. But certainly there, you risk, if I'm not sure if risk is the right word, but if you're disgruntled of Fareham, or you're disgruntled of Gosport, or disgruntled of Havant, you could probably, there's a chance they might try and create a town council to then get themselves a mayor back. So you'll be stripping away one level of bureaucracy and then bringing another one back into it.
Yeah,
it's such an we just don't know the answer to so many of these things. But I think that may happen. But of course, they're talking about we'd get an elected mayor as well.
Yes,
and I touched on that earlier. So your Sadiq Khan, so I keep mentioning him all the time. That's most people know him, or your Andy Burnham. So it's a political mayor. But I don't know what happens to the leaders of the councils. I don't know. So you're going to have a Lord Mayor, presumably, an elected mayor, which is a political mayor, the leaders of the councils. I don't know. I think we've got until the 25th or the 26th of September to have all 15 local authorities have agreed a sort of mutual way forward. A ridiculously short amount of time. Something like this, of this scale, would take probably about 5 or 6 years to plan, and this government's rushing it through literally in a blink of that. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but I don't agree with it. I'll come out with it. I don't agree with it. Other people can speak for themselves. I think we're happy as we are, but such is life.
Yeah, it does seem has all the markings of trying to put a jigsaw together with your hands tied behind your back and a blindfold on, and not having had sight of the picture that you're trying to make. But no, thanks for that. Is it next one yours or mine, Ian? I've lost track.
It's mine. No, it's all. We've been all over the place today. It's like trying to put a jelly in a sock, but we will battle. We will battle on. So yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know whether I'm feeling particularly creative today, Jason. You brought it out of me. I was thinking mayor wars there, where Portsmouth, Gosport, Fareham could put forward their own contender to battle to see who
Like in
wins
a
the prize.
wrestling match.
Who knows, mate? Yeah, that kind of thing.
I
Yeah,
was thinking of the French, of doing a bit of bilingual pun and having a mayor.
indeed, indeed. So I guess having had your year, second time round,
Yep.
I guess couple of questions just to finish is obviously what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about standing for Lord Mayor? And then the second part of my question is, do you fancy going around again?
What advice would I give, first of all?
Yeah.
I'd say buy a new waistcoat, a new shirts, and new jackets. No, I mean, again, I put on a heck of a lot of weight, as I keep mentioning. Then one of the things I should have said about the drawback of being a Lord Mayor, and it sounds perhaps ungrateful to say it, but literally there is too much food. You go to so many events, and people are normally quite generous and quite sort of nice towards you, but it gets to a stage where you don't want any more food. If you go to a buffet, you can kind of moderate that yourself. But a lot of the times you're taken to places and you're given dinners, and you can't sit down there and push the dinner away. So I'm not trying to give this as an excuse. Okay, I could have been a bit more health conscious, but the food, there's too much, food, drink, it just piles up on you. So if anyone out there that's struggling for food, I do apologize. I'm not trying to sound like horrible over this, but it's that's one of the drawbacks of the role. You get stuffed. Be prepared for not much time off. Be prepared to get tired. As I said earlier, I'm no spring chicken anymore. But even 20 years ago, it's quite grueling. As in, no one wants to see a grumpy Lord Mayor. So you've got to put the smile on. You've got to be nice. Sometimes you'll go to somewhere where you know very little about it. So you try to do a little bit of research somewhere, show an interest in what they're doing. And speeches, the Lord Mayor's office will write speeches for you if you want. But I found, no disrespect to the girls in the office because they do a good job, but sometimes you've got to gauge when you're there and sort of sometimes put a bit more oomph into a speech or make it a bit more humorous or a bit more, so you kind of adapt to it. So
You've got
be
to
on your
improvise,
feet for that. Yeah, and be prepared for it to go remarkably quickly and go from having a literally really packed diary to when it comes to the day of mayor making, you're out of office, your diary evaporates, you are, as I touched on earlier, yesterday's chip paper, and you look back and think, wow, well, that was a whistle-stop journey. It's now gone, and I'm back to being a rank and file councillor again. So you go to meeting so many people doing so much, but don't let it go to your head. That's what I'd say. I've seen Lord Mayors in the past and Lady Mayoresses where they believe they're royalty. You're filling the chain for a year. You're giving it to someone else to do. There've been plenty of Lord Mayors before you. Hopefully there'll be plenty of Lord Mayors afterwards. So just enjoy the role while you're there. And each person brings to it their own particular character and abilities and such like. But don't get too attached to it because literally, you're going to be gone and you're going to have to adjust to that quickly. So it's literally all snap overnight. So, and you get about halfway through the year and you become quite conscious of that because you get to detect a feel, they're looking over your shoulder. As an analogy, I should say it's a conveyor belt of Lord Mayors because literally you're zooming through, the office staff stay there, but they see one after another. And literally get to around about November time, you're halfway through your year and you're already conscious they're getting ready for the next one. So you do sort of feel like they're coming in, they're meeting the new one. You think, oh, I'm out there already. So don't get too attached to it.
So am I right, Jason, that you didn't practice your regal wave from the back of the mayoral car at all? You kept that in check, did you?
I believe I did. Yes, I had a couple of things shouted at us from the back of the car. I tried to push the mayoral car once, but it got stuck in the mud in Southsea Common. I mentioned that at mayor making, with the Lady Mayoress and the chauffeur still inside it. I was in my robes trying to push it, which obviously didn't work. But yeah, you get people trying to photograph you as they go past, or they sort of wave at you and such like. So, unfortunately, our flag's broken on the front. You can't put the little flag on like an ambassador's car would do. So some of the other mayors have got the little flags. That Pompey's one's, I'm afraid, a bit of a letdown. It's wilted, so to speak.
No worries. And would you give it a go again?
Gosh, well, I said if it follows the same pattern, I'm not sure I'm going to still be here in 20 years' time. Would I do it again? Probably for a hat trick, for a third time. I don't want to get too greedy because
Yeah.
it's nice to let other people share it. One of the things I think a dilemma about the role is whether there's probably some justification to make it a 2-year term because you start to make connections and links with people, particularly with business community, with military, wherever, and then in a year it's gone. They've got to adjust to somebody else. But at the same time, if you did have a 2-year term, it's really tiring for 2 years. Plus, you're kind of hogging it, you're not giving someone else a chance to do it. So there's pros and cons to it, but as it's a year at a time. Will I do it for one more time? Yeah, just to say I've done a hat trick, but I'm not burning to do it again. But if the opportunity come up, I wouldn't say no. But I'm not sure I'll be able to do it at the age of 80 odd. So I think it was Fred Charlton. I think was our oldest Lord Mayor, if I recall, in living memory. Anyway, and I think Fred was about 80-ish. But yeah, anyway, well, let's see what happens. Shall we see what happens? I've got to win an election next year to stay on, so we'll see what happens.
Well, and indeed, as you know, Jason, we keep a very close eye on the political landscape, and obviously next year is 26, 27, 28 local government reorganisation means we're not planning too far ahead in terms of what happens
I
next.
don't
So
think the government
no,
are, but
well, no, to be fair, right, it's we'll just all run around chaotically and see what happens.
screaming.
So exactly. No, well, thank you ever so much for your time, Jason. It's been much appreciated, and yeah, we went on that journey with you through the kind of the sweltering heat of Cannes. So yeah, hopefully some good memory. Yeah,
The Star
some
Trek
good
fans
memories
amongst you
in.
will be understanding what I'm saying there.
Stop it, you geek.
Sorry.
Oh, dear God. Right. So, on that bombshell, you've been listening to the Pompey Politics podcast. I've been Ian Tiny Morris.
And our guest this evening has been former Lord Mayor of Portsmouth, Cllr Jason Fazackarley. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you very much, and thank you guys for the invite as always. And at least someone talks to me. I don't get many people talking to me these days, so thank you for bringing me on.
Well,
it almost takes me back a month or so ago.
Bless you. Well, thank you, and hopefully it wasn't too traumatic. Going back through the tales of France. I've been Simon Sansbury. Do join us next week at 6:27 when we'll be talking all matters environmental, when we've got some local environmental campaigners come to talk to us about the quality of Portsmouth air or the lack of it. But if you want to make sure that you hear what's going on with the Pompey Politics podcast, please do remember to give us a like, follow, subscribe, comment, or sign up to our newsletter. If you can find that on our website, pppodcast.uk. But we'll see you next week, and thanks very much, and we'll see you then. Don't forget to like, follow and comment on Facebook, or comment and subscribe on YouTube. Find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, X, YouTube, Threads, LinkedIn.